Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willis. Welcome to Politics. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world receiving our signals via the magic. Thank you for being here. We had a very interesting communication problems that I don't quite understand. But I went through some secondary channels to get us on air. And you know what? We are back. Today is Aquino Day. Of course, it's Thursday. So how you doing, Neil?
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thanks for everyone who has stuck through our few minutes of technical difficulties. And I'm here, Neil Aquino, Houston Democracy Project. And we're here to talk about local politics. Local politics.
Well, yes, we are. Anyway, Neil, you told me that there are some, before we get into the national subject, you told us about some local issues that are occurring. Why don't you?
I did. I really want to highlight yesterday at Houston City Council, which people should pay more attention to. Houstonians should at least. Mayor Whitmire had State Representative Armando Wally come, and they're buddies. They're buddies. So he had his buddy come. State Representative Wally represents some areas along the East End and other areas in Houston. And Armando Wally's message, he's on a budget committee, a state house budget committee. And Wally's message was basically, the only way we get our tax dollars back from Austin is if we ignore ICE and the threat to take over our elections and everything that's going on. He didn't say that expressly, but that was the message, because that is Whitmire's message, that if we start talking about ICE, we are going to run afoul of the state. And I never signed up for a deal where to get some of my tax dollars back, because I'm sure Houston doesn't get back what we give them. To get my tax dollars back, I have to give up my rights. And that's the message that they keep putting forth. They had a long, redundant, self-congratulatory conversation. They're all buddies. They all come from the same networks. They all know what's best. Even though turnout is lousy in Representative Wally's district. Representative Wally was one of the legislators who signed the letter telling Democratic precinct chairs not to admonish Mayor Whitmire. And for his troubles, he's on a list of 7 Democrats that Governor Abbott has targeted for defeat in 2026. But at bottom line, I did not sign up to have my tax dollars contingent on looking the other way at the ethnic cleansing of the country by ICE, shooting protesters in cold blood, and the subjugation of the Western Hemisphere from Latin America to Greenland to Trump and Miller's white supremacy. So I wanted to put that out there. They're telling us that we can't fight back, push back, organize back against Austin, because we'll lose out on state funding. And then there's got to be some other answer to that.
Well, that is really a shame, right? Because the reality is, in effect, what they're saying is we're no longer a democracy. Here it is that Houston is one of the primary funders of this state, or none. We are the economic center. And they are saying if we don't abide by what these clowns in Austin are talking about, that somehow we are going to pay the price. And I think acquiescing to that sets a precedent that we cannot deny. And if we believe in that, I don't know what's the point, but I don't know what comes next. What are your thoughts on that?
What comes next? I don't know. We're taking this day at a time. I encourage everyone to watch Governor Tim Walz of Minnesota's 5-minute speech.
Yeah, tell us about what he said. I mean, that was a powerful, unrepentant type of speech, as it should have been. I was proud of the guy.
I encourage you to go to YouTube or C-SPAN and look for that. Governor Walz spoke for just 5 minutes, but he said a lot. He said Minnesotans should continue to resist. He said take pictures of them, detail them. He did not say get off the street. You know, I was heartened to hear an elected official say continue to protest. Now, one thing they could do is the Minneapolis and St. Paul police and the Minnesota State Troopers, could consider arresting the ICE stations. Miller and the federal government are saying, they are completely immune. I don't know the law
legally,
but I don't true. What's that?
Legally, that is not true.
And I don't know if police officers would comply with that order. I don't know if National Guard, Minnesota, I guess Trump could then federalize Minnesota. But one thing that keeps happening in the spirit that I have here, no matter what happens, our local police will police us off the streets, no matter what is on the way. But I wish that I'm ready for these conflicts. I'm ready for these conflicts. And he was very defiant in terms of Minnesota against the federal government. I don't know what's next. Trump has talked about in a couple of his tweets or whatever companies were there on social media. I don't want to mention them. That a day of what word did he use?
Retribution, yeah.
Reckoning retribution was coming. And so they keep sending troops to Minnesota, occupying Minnesota. And I don't really know how our local officials, they're whistling past the graveyard, to use the old cliche. They are ignoring, hoping it will go away. I don't know what our local officials think the end game is. I was in a conversation with our county clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth, who I'm very cynical about elected officials often, but I have 100% support for our clerk, Tanisha Hudspeth. She counts the votes. And I was in a conversation with her and a few other people, and she was speaking about her deep concern that the elections will be taken over. She talked about the new building that the county commissioners funded in the last couple of years, where they count the votes, and that it has cameras everywhere. It's secure against everything. She mentioned some ways it could be attacked. It was secure, and also with flooding. And she talked about just how tough it was in 2024 without going into details for her and the people around her when she was counting the votes. And we know that this is coming, taking over our elections. Governor Abbott has tweeted already here in January that our election should be taken over. The Republicans are not cooperating with the Democrats on the running of primary. Early voting is February 17th to 27th. Primary is March 3rd. Then there'll be runoffs in late May. This is all on the way. So if I don't know exactly what's coming, but I will tell you that my strategy is not to curl up, give up, hand over my rights to these people. And frankly, if they need to withhold their state dollars, then that's what they need to do. The police chief, Noe Diaz, is going around saying they'll withhold police funding. Right? So I remember Whitmire said that Sheila Jackson Lee wanted to defund the police in 2023.
Yeah.
And his buddies in the state apparently with threats to defund the police. But somehow it's only Democrats. It's only Mayor Whitmire. It's only Democrats forcing him, asking him, causing him, pressing him to confront these issues as a problem. The issue is people being abused, not our abusers, and that is not a viable solution for us.
I mean, it is shameful, but the thing about it is, what do we do about it? I think what we have to start really articulating to the people at hand is that, cowering is never the solution. Cowering is never the solution, which is what we are starting to do right now. And unless we do something about that, then then we've lost our democracy. Now, you had another subject you also wanted to talk about.
Well, I'll tell you a connected subject. ICE, local actions against ICE. So there were local protests this past weekend regarding the killing of Ms. Good in Minnesota. There were protests at the Galleria area, Post Oak and Westheimer, Conroe, Kingwood, Katy, Sugarland, Clear Lake. There were protests across the region, and it was a lot of the same people and same ethos and same vibe and same lack of official connections to establishment interests that generated the No Kings. I was glad to see that we continue to have the capacity to respond on our own. This Sunday from 11 to 1:30 in Conroe, at the intersection of State Route 336 and I-45, will be a bridge, a protest banner drop for Keith Porter, who was murdered by an off-duty ICE officer in Los Angeles. There are some questions around the circumstances. The Keith Porter protest banner drop at 45 and 336 up there in Conroe from 11 to 1:30. There have been Sunday, 11 to 1:30, Sunday. And there have been protests in Conroe. I've talked about this before, repeatedly, at highway overpasses. And at Conroe City Hall, there was an effort by City of Conroe to limit protest rights that was defeated at Conroe City Council. They tabled it. But I want to emphasize over and over, local people across the Houston region taking the lead themselves. And then in contrast to what I'm talking about at Houston City Council, our elected officials just basically saying, shut up, and maybe we can get some of our money back. So that's we need these networks of resistance have to come from us. These networks of resistance in Minnesota, these folks who have been blowing the whistles, following the ICE agents, engaged in lawful protests, needed protests that Governor Walz is promoting. These are local networks. These are folks who have formed community themselves, and these are the resistance networks that are going to be essential coming up ahead.
It's something that I've heard a lot of people say. Too often we are waiting for some charismatic leader to come and save the day. That, I think it's high time that realize that is not going to happen. It's going to have to be us that go out there and save the day for ourselves. That's
right, because there's no leader. I mean, you think about it. We are 10 years into Trump. We are now, next week will mark 1 year since his the dark day of his second inauguration. There's no leader. There's no great leader. Protest leader. It's us. You see how this opposition is forming. It's people on TikTok. It's people locally. I don't mean to overstate TikTok. But there's a lot of talk there and ideas. There's a lot of people with a voice. Some are helpful, some are not. Some have influence, some don't. There are local voices, but there is no national figure or leader.
And again, the national and local leaders, as Tom Hartman would put it, it's us. We are the ones who are going to have to solve this problem. Us.
The next action is when you organize it. The First Amendment is your permit. The only credential needed is your presence. That's where we're at.
I like that phrase. That is so important now. I am trying to, even as you're speaking, I've been trying to reestablish some connections here, and hopefully we're going to get at least part of our program back up on Substack as well. But anyway, folks, you can give us a call at 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. If you want to call in and speak to Neil. Neil, what's your third subject? I think you had another one that you had.
I just wanted to talk about, as I mentioned before, the proximity of the primary. February 17th to 27 is early voting. February 17th to 27 is early voting. March 3rd is election day. Then there's runoffs in May. There was a poll this morning that had Talarico ahead of Crockett, 48 to 37. The last poll I had seen a few weeks ago had Crockett up. That's just a little bit. That's just one poll. We really haven't spent a lot of time here talking about the Talarico Crockett race here on my local appearances because, one of those two candidates will be gone in 7 weeks when the primary comes. And they spend a lot of money. They raise a lot of money while our volunteer efforts really don't have a lot of money. Our organizing that we just referenced in opposition to Trump and ICE is done on our own dime. There are the county judge race, Letitia Plummer, the former council member, against Mayor Parker, former Mayor East Parker. There's a third candidate, Mr. Salazar in there. So that could go to a runoff too, depending. And there are all sorts of judicial races. County clerk, county district clerk, justice of the peace races. We'll talk more as we get to February 17th about a few local races that have good candidates. But I urge you to begin now to look at these races and think about them. There are a lot of ballot from governor on down. There's a gubernatorial primary. There's a lieutenant governor primary, the Senate primary, all sorts of stuff. And election day, early voting begins in just over a month now.
Yeah, and right here in Texas, for the national audience, that's here in Texas. Local elections are
here in Texas
different. Yeah, different everywhere. But our primaries here in Texas is very, very early, which I kind of like that because it gives people a chance to really centralize on particular issues. So that really helps a lot. Anyhow,
and I will mention I do want to mention for local folks who know the issue, on Monday there's only one Martin Luther King parade. Right? I know. Folks who know what I'm talking about know what I'm talking about. All the years I've lived here, there have been two. I've lived in town for 28 years. There have been two Martin Luther King parades on downtown in Houston. And to Mayor Whitmire's credit, he got the folks to sit together. And come Monday morning, there's only going to be one MLK parade. And if you've been to those parades over the years, and I've been to both of them, I don't know who the different organizers were or what the problem was. But they would frequently have gaps in the coverage. A band would come by. It would be 4 minutes until the next band or float came by. I'm hoping it's a parade that really honors Dr. King. Yesterday there was talk about Martin Luther King by Martha Castix Tatum, who's the number 2 official in the city. I don't know that Martha Kasich Tatum always displays the courage of Martin Luther King. Frankly, she talked about him at some length. I would love to hear her talk about ICE and challenge Mayor Whitmire. And then after she spoke, Councilwoman Amy Peck, a Republican, thanked her for those words. Councilwoman Peck never lives up to the values of Martin Luther King. So they use his name wrongly all the time. And when we talk about taking the leadership in protest, be aware that Martin Luther King Day is coming up Monday, and today, the 15th, is his actual birthday. Today, the 15th, is his actual birthday. And after many, many decades, there's only one MLK parade. And I guess we have, and Mayor Whitmire is one of the grand marshals. Okay. So I hope that the spirit of Martin Luther King prevails over Mayor Whitmire. I hope he's visited by that spirit. And he talks to him, and maybe here's an opportunity for Mayor Whitmire to do better.
One can hope, right?
Yeah.
One can hope. Anyway, folks, welcome aboard. We finally got Substack back online as well. So welcome aboard. Let's see, our regular Substackers, Jane B. out of North Carolina. We've got Paul M., John A., Karen Mary Shelton, Willis Colwood, Richard Brown, Marnie. Thank you guys for all being here and sticking around and holding out. If I didn't call your name, forgive me. Welcome aboard as well. Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas, Lita Beercat from Austin, Joe from Los Angeles, California, Udi Deemer right here in Texas, as well as many others, Methil, Glenn, and the others. I don't have time to call all the names out right now. But anyhow, I want to point out something to our audience. And this one is national. Earlier, you heard Neil talk about we're going to have to take things in our hands. Look, we have a president that is putting us at the precipice of conflict with those we considered allies. We have a European armada building up on the outskirts of Methyl Glen is Cheryl. Welcome, Cheryl. We have it building out on the outskirts of Greenland. Mm-hmm. No other president since World War II would have had us in a position, well, not even since World War II, would have had us in a position like this. And if you listen to the media sounds impotent. If you listen to the Democrats look impotent. If you look at the Republicans look impotent to this imbecile who knows nothing about world history, local history, the World War II, World War I, Korean War, Vietnam War, Iraq War, knows nothing about the consequences of these, knows nothing about the Latin American history in the United States. And it's here creating and repeating all these issues. It is sad, but folks, as Neil pointed out, you know what give these guys the spine that they don't have? You. Yeah. We have to let them know that we are actually engaged. Let me tell you something. I've always pointed out that that politicians are but empty vessels to be filled. And whoever chooses to fill that empty vessel, whether it is the tech bros, the big donors, or whatever fills that empty vessels to do what you want it to do. Now, here's the thing, though, right? Many people think that money fills the vessel. Money fills the vessel. Wherever money goes is where the politician goes. That's a fallacy that they would want to have you believe, that it takes money to win. What it takes to win is you, really, right? Because as long as we have one person, one vote, if we are engaged so that that money can't buy disinformation to have people vote against their own interests, then we can accomplish something. I want you to realize this. The separation that we have among our people, whether it be gender, racial, whatever kind of separation. All of that is a necessary design that allows money to have the power it has in our politics. And if we could get rid of those diseases, that cancer, where we are actually engaging each other in communication, we can actually mitigate all of that and become. We saw somebody do that. We saw somebody use the power of engagement to win with all headwinds against that person. And it will behoove every politician going forward to look at the template laid out by a young man called Zorhan Mamdani and how he did it. I studied how he did it, on how engagement wins elections, not money, not establishment politics. None of that wins elections if the people are engaged. Let's go to Ilan. Ilan, line 1.
All right, I have 3 quick points to make. Discussing money like you just did. I get solicitations in my email from for politicians in Alaska to Florida, and they never say how they're going to do what they claim they're for, but they definitely are going to solicit you to donate. And I say the long term is, people say it's impossible, but my solution to that is to have a pool of money provided by the government and make it illegal for people, corporations, or PACs to donate money to candidates, because I call it bribery. My second point is Martin Luther King Day. I've participated with the Green Party. I've participated marching in the parade with KPFT, and even for Veterans for Peace as organizations. I'm too old to do it now. I'm getting weaker as but anyway, I see every year, every school has their military band out there or whatever, they're all got their fake rifles and their military uniforms, and that's not what Dr. King was about. My third point is nobody's talking about saving millions of dollars by virtually eliminating runoff elections. And how do you do that? I mean, statistically, it's possible to have a runoff, but if you do, ranked choice or approval voting. Approval voting is where you vote for all the candidates that you like, not just a winner or loser, but they total up how many approved votes each candidate gets and determine a winner that way. And ranked choice voting, as you just mentioned, is another method. There's several flavors of it, but at least you can use ranked choice voting to eliminate the runoff elections and save the taxpayers millions of dollars.
And not only that, it is a lot more. Let me just, Ilan, let me just interrupt you for a second, because I don't think people understand the great concept of ranked choice voting. What it allows to point out is that nobody gets their vote wasted, because again, you get to choose who you really, really want, and then the other votes that you do subsequently put in rank order who you would then prefer, and that genuinely measures which candidate has the majority support. True majority support is how you win, and not by somebody winning. It actually tells the real story. Ranked choice voting. I've had many interviews that I've played on ranked choice voting here on both KPFT and our 3 o'clock program. So thank you for bringing that up. All right, Ilan?
And one little more detail about that.
Yes.
That is, it gives an advantage to the incumbent, because to get in the runoff, the incumbent and the challenger are going to spend a lot of money, but often the challenger is a beginner and doesn't have as much money. So the incumbent has money left over from the initial election to spend on the runoff election, but the challenger may not have any money left.
Exactly. Thank you for.
I want to comment.
Ilan, hold on one second. Thank you very much, Ilan.
Ciao.
All right, good.
And I'll say, Elon, I probably saw him. I used to go to the parade more consistently, and I stopped going, in fact, for what he said. They would have all these ROTC units marching, and those kids are trying to get by. I certainly had no judgment of the students, but boy, so inconsistent with King's message, and it never. I would just stand there at a parade. Why didn't the principals and the superintendents in all these districts? Where was the honor roll? Where was the debate club? Where was the student government?
Wow.
It was so inconsistent to have young people at a Martin Luther King parade dressed in camouflage and no that provides frequently money for college. I guess I'm not an expert, but I certainly wasn't critical of the young people, but I was critical of the vision of the school administrators, and it's actually one of the reasons I stopped going to the two different King parades, because I just found it depressing, and it's outside my bandwidth or capability to fight. Neil, but it sure would bum me out every year.
I've been to the parades a few times. I don't go to a lot of parades.
Yeah.
But man, I never put that together. That is a very insightful statement.
There are a lot of them. There are a lot of those ROTC.
That is so insightful. Where is the honor club? Where is the debate club? Where are all of these things? That is so. That is.
It doesn't even occur to them.
Observe it. It didn't occur to me, and I'm not a pacifist. Well, I'm a pacifist. Yes, I am. But I mean, it never really occurred to me that, wow, I just saw it as a parade. I know, Eric, Neil is not disparaging the parade. Disparaging the parade. He's telling the truth. Hey, John Carter has a great statement. Hey, John, how you doing? He says Taylor Remmett in the SD9 race only had $150,000 versus the $6 million that the two R's had. And guess what, Neil? He got 47% of the vote.
Right. Okay.
That just points out that if a little bit more work, a little bit more engagement, a little bit more beats money every single time, especially if you're out there doing stuff for the party, for the people. There's a leader in the Democratic Party that came out pretty much and said, this year, Democrats better go full populist, which I agree with completely. Glenn says the principals have no choice. They're instructed to send them by the school boards. That's a shame if that's the case, Glenn. Glenn also says, question, if a Republican votes for MAGA representative, they're voting against their own interests, correct? Yeah. So if a progressive vote for a neoliberal, as you advocate at time, are the progressive voting against their own interests? No. And I can answer that categorically. And let me explain why. If voting for the neoliberal still gives you access to health care, but voting for the Republican does not, no, you are voting in your interest. You're not voting in your absolute best interest, but you're voting in your interest. And Glenn, you and I have this kind of discussion all the time, my brother. And that's the issue. The issue is some people, and I won't necessarily say you, but some people have the privilege of choice. In other words, they have insurance elsewhere. Sticking it to the neoliberals won't hurt them or hurt them as bad. You have the privilege for that. As a host, I don't have that privilege. I have to ensure that the advice, the suggestions that I give are good for the vast majority of people for their solutions today and tomorrow, with the expectation that we're going to work harder and harder to move things forward. And that's where I think we have a little issue, Glenn. So we're going to have to sit down and with a lot more coffees together and hammer that out, my brother. Let's go to Jimmy, line number 2.
Yeah, regarding the Republicans, Governor Abbott taking over the local elections, I think you should interview Representative Gene Wu. He has a lot of influence up there in Austin, and he should be able to, his opinion should be helpful there. On the Affordable Care Act, Congress needs to bring back this subsidy. I believe one house has already brought it back, but we need to make sure they bring back that subsidy so people will have their health care. And regarding Trump trying to take over Greenland or bomb Iran because of their shooting down protesters over there, Congress needs to let him know he does not have the authority to send soldiers overseas unless Congress approves of it. That's all we need to do there to stop Trump's crazy ideas.
You're right about that, Jimmy.
And Iran.
Thank you, Jimmy. You're, as usual, insightful, and you're watching your news, brother. You're watching your news. Anyway, we'll talk. All right, Jimmy?
Sure.
Thank you, brother. Have a good one. Let's go to Bobby. Come on in, Bobby. Line number 1.
Hi, good morning. I just heard you guys mention MLK a few times, and I just wanted to remind everybody that in 1999, his family, in a civil suit, claimed that the U.S. government was the ones responsible for his death, and they won that suit. They only sued for $100. They said this is about truth, not money. But yeah, our government was held in a civil case liable for assassinating him. I just thought that people should keep that in mind. That's all I have to say.
Thank you for that, Bobby. Appreciate you, Bobby. Thank you very much. Neil, anything you want to add?
Nope.
Okay. I have another video that it's time to show you. And here is the setup. Let's go ahead now and go to the third to last story. And the third to last story is about Tillis. I wonder, why is it that Republican senators, Republican congresspeople wait until they have decided to leave the current political scene before they say the things that they really should have been saying for a long time? I want you to listen to Tom Tillis here. He was almost good. He was almost good. And I'm going to leave it up to y'all to tell me the part that made him not good. But I'm going to go ahead and play it, and let's take it on the other side.
Is the administration really willing to risk the NATO alliance by potentially moving ahead with military operations?
What I think the White House said yesterday is what I will tell you now, and I've always said. The president always retained the option. Every president, not this president, every president always retains the option. I'm not talking about Greenland. I'm just talking about globally. If the president identifies a threat to the national security of the United States, every president retains the option to address it through military means. As a diplomat, which is what I am now, and what we work on, we always prefer to settle it in different ways. That included in Venezuela. We tried repeatedly to reach an outcome here that did not involve having to go in and grab an indicted drug trafficker. Those were unsuccessful, unfortunately.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio speaking with reporters yesterday after briefing lawmakers about the situation in Venezuela. President Trump, for his part, now says the United States could be running Venezuela for years. When asked by the New York Times how long his administration will demand oversight of the South American country, Trump responded, "Only time will tell." As for Greenland, Secretary Rubio says he will meet with officials from Denmark's government next week to discuss the island. The foreign ministers of Greenland and Denmark requested discussions as soon as possible after Rubio told reporters it has always been President Trump's intent to purchase the territory. Meanwhile, Republican Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina delivered a forceful defense of NATO yesterday, slamming what he called the insane and stupid comments by top White House advisor Stephen Miller about taking Greenland. Take a look.
Folks, amateur hour is over. You don't speak on behalf of this U.S. Senator or the Congress. You can say it may be the position of the President of the United States that Greenland should be a part of the United States, but it's not the position of this government because we are a co-equal branch. And if that were to come to pass, there would be a vote on the floor to make it real. Not the surreal sort of environment that some deputy chief of staff thinks was cute to say on TV. So you want to get me back to thanking the president for all the good things he's doing? Then give him good advice. One of two things happened with Greenland. Either one, the president came up with the idea that maybe we should have Greenland as a part of our assets. And somebody said that's a great idea. Versus saying, Mr. President, take a look at our alliance. Take a look at the most important alliance in the history of the United States, the NATO alliance. This could actually destabilize that, Mr. President. Mr. President, you should know at one point we had 17 military installations in Greenland, and they'd be happy to have us back. They're not refusing to have us have access to project power into the Arctic. We could do it without taking over a NATO country. That's the sort of advice that they should have been given. So if the president thought it was a good idea, then he needs the expertise to say, Mr. President, that's why this is not a good idea. And I would defy you to find any credible general with a star on his shoulder who would say that it is, because they understand that the NATO alliance is what has kept this nation largely, or this world, largely safe for over 75 years. The flip side could be that Mr. Miller or somebody else said, hey, this would be cool. Let's take over Greenland. It'll be like a big aircraft carrier. Well, that's stupid too. And I'm sick of stupid. I want good advice for this president because I want this president to have a good legacy. And this nonsense on what's going on with Greenland is a distraction from the good work he's doing, and the amateurs who said it was a good idea should lose their jobs.
Okay, there we go. Let's see. I'm going to tell you. That was great. It's time to get rid of stupid. True. It's also sick to want Greenland. True. He also shows he understands that the guy gets, that always comes up with crazy advice, but his advisors should be there to bring him down. True. But LBW nailed it. The good things that the president has done. What are they? What are the good things that the president has done? And the other thing he said, I want this president to maintain his good legacy. How can a president who has been impeached twice, a president who exacerbated a pandemic, please tell me, how could he possibly have a good legacy? And don't speak about now. One who is a pirate in the ocean, a murderer in the middle of the ocean, one who has the ton Maku, the Papa Doc style, people arresting people on the ground, etc. Come on. There's no good legacy about the president. The president is the president because America has still not gotten over some of its quote unquote prejudices. Everybody wants to say, "Oh, he won because of the economy." No. Listen to Miss Obama. Michelle Obama is correct. It had to do with gender and race, and that combination, to overcome that, we really have to do some educating. So, Patrick, one of our listeners always come on every so often and say, racism and prejudice is very expensive. Look at the cost we are paying for it, because that's the only reason Donald Trump is president. And look at what it is going to cost us as a country, financially, environmentally, from a point of view of getting rid of a national cohesion. I mean, the rebuilding that's going to have to occur after we get this Neanderthal out of office is going to be immense. And we got to start now. But the rebuilding, my God, you know, I was on the Everything show, or I always forget Dana Du Bois show, the name of her show for some reason. But anyway, I was on Dana Du Bois show, and I'm like, you know, I am still very positive that we are going to move forward in the long run. You know, we normally take 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back. In the case of Donald Trump, we took 2 steps backward during his first administration. Biden came, we only took 1 step forward. Then he came back, we took 5 steps backwards. So we have so much more to make up. 6 steps will only get us break even. So, brothers and sisters, it has to start now. Well, you know, here's the thing, folks. In reading some of your chat, especially the one from John Carter, I think we have to give that. I think we have to give that, elevate that statement and use it as a marching order. And what I mean by that is, we sit back so often and say money wins every time. We look at how the Congress votes. And this goes with Republicans or Democrats alike, that the higher weight goes to those wealthy corporations and wealthy people who give money, right? We have to get to the point where we are engaging. And, you know, we are trying that right here with this program that we're doing, the research and the work that, you know, our brother Neil Aquino does with the Houston Democracy Project, etc. There are a lot of us out there. The work that John Carter does as president of the Humble Area Democrats, and a lot more than that, right? Because he's also engaging throughout the community. And again, all of these are people just out there volunteering to do these things, right? All of us have the capacity and the ability to do these things. Find those leaders, those organizers who are actually doing something. Neil's not hard to find. John's not hard to find. And by the way, I'm just calling people out that I see in the chat. We have the brother that just called in, Jimmy, out there. Jimmy is one of the leaders of the Houston Peace and Justice Center out here doing some work. We have we have a lot of people out there that are doing some work, and you can engage. One of the things, instead of feeling demoralized, right? Instead of feeling like nothing's going to change, the greatest antidote to that is going out there and doing something. Neil has a phrase that I always like to mimic and always forget it. Come on, Neil, help me out here.
Right. The next action is when you organize it. The next action is when you organize it.
The next action is when you organize it. And let me tell you something. In these times, we tell you not to work alone, and you shouldn't, right? But all of us have at least one friend, and that friend has another friend, right? I give kudos to these women in Kingwood that you know, whenever they ask me to do anything, I just say, what do you need me to do? Because they have taken the bull by the horns. These are most of them retired women. Some of them are young students, and they work together, and they're doing something once or many times a week.
Right. There's a weekly protest at Dan Crenshaw's, near Dan Crenshaw's office. Yeah. What is it? It's at Kingwood and Westlake.
It's on Kingwood Drive and Westlake. Yeah. And they do it every week, and they're out there with their signs, and sometimes they get the finger, but as time has gone on, they're getting more and more support. In our chat right now, I see our our good friend. I'm looking for her right now to see if she had anything to add to the discussion. But she's out there on the bridge in Massachusetts, right? Doing her thing. Cheryl Elkins is out there. Jane B, she's working with groups in fact, has a book club coming up. Just engaging with the fellow people around. You can actually do something, right? And it just takes you and another person. And if it's you alone, let's say you're home and you're are currently disabled, and you think, well, I'm here in bed or I'm here in a wheelchair. What can I do? Look, your experience, your disability itself is a testimony, right? Your disability itself is a testimony. You know, why is our society in such a manner that being disabled is so difficult for you? Why is it that people don't see that they're endangering your life with what they're doing with our healthcare system? Everybody's reality, everybody's life is a testimony because we are a community, we are a society. And I think one of the things that too many try to get us against, they try to put that impotence in our mind, is that we just don't matter. And what I'm here to tell you folks is, no, baby. Every single life, every single one of your lives. I tell people all of the times, right? I interview all kind of folk, and I'll be like, hey, tell me your story. The problem is a lot of people don't like to come on camera and tell their stories and that sort of stuff. And I try to explain to people that every individual's story, each one of your story individually, is not yours alone. There are thousands of people living through exactly what you are living through. And one of the problems we have in the country right now is that we have learned silent suffering, how to suffer in silence. And one of the benefits to the plutocracy, the oligarchy, to wealthy, exactly, is when you have people suffering in silence because of a false shame for what they're going through. And notice I said a false shame for what they're going through. It allows all the others not to demand what a society is to provide to and for them. Jane B in North Carolina points out that there are many other things that she's working with, to the bridge brigades and the silent protest.
Yeah.
You know, I learned about the silent protest from one of my friends here in Kingwood. She was back in the days with the Women Lives, and she gave me that. She taught me about silent protest. I think you want to say something, Neil. Come on in.
No, I'm just, the only thing is, everything, the smallest action matters. 1, 2, 3, 4 people on the street corner. We are looking to have, the capacity to respond. We know we're going to have to respond to something. And being in that habit of response, I think is very important. Like we alluded to earlier, there's no organized leader. We barely know the names of any groups. There's Indivisible and things, but there's not even. This is a very decentralized. There is some money. There are some central groups. I probably underestimate it to a degree, but from the ground here, it sure looks very decentralized. Just us, but there are many of us, and there are many people acting, and that needs to increase.
You just gave me an idea, Neil. Actually, it's a page I think we need on Houston Democracy Project, and that is starting to. I know that some of this is elsewhere, but it would be great to have a list of all these different groups on your.
Well,
site.
Let me answer that. I keep getting asked to. You didn't ask me to make a schedule. I have made intermittently schedules, and I encourage people who ask me to make a schedule of protest to do it themselves. Not you. You do more than everything. But all that information is you have to look for it. You have to know. But if you go to Mobilize, Google Mobilize Houston, you can figure out where the protests are in your area, all area, not just Houston. You have to if you go around Facebook, look for events. A lot of it is in those places, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I've had about 15 different people ask me to have posted a schedule, and I wish people would. Every time someone asks that, I'm like, why don't you do it? Why don't you do it?
We're out of time, but we're out of time. But I want to just put what John Carter says. He says everyone matters. If you don't want to protest, you can call your rep and senators.
Right.
Doesn't matter if they are a D or an R. Call and give them your opinion. Jack,
right?
It's on you. Jack.
Well, everybody, get registered to vote, stay engaged, and your permit is your authority to protest.
Absolutely. Neil, give me a quick closer. I got about 15 seconds.
HoustonDemocracyProject.com, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Please visit it, and you have power. Use it.
Absolutely. Folks, I'm sorry for the technical problems we had earlier today. We'll talk about that another time. Anyway, love you all. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government by and for the people. New Hampshire legislators are making another attempt to end the use of student IDs as voter identification, claiming such IDs were prone to fraud and advancing a bill to further narrow acceptable options. Such fraud is almost non-existent, and pro-voter groups say it's partisan voter suppression. The New Hampshire Bulletin reports
support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's